Mr. Justice, please explain yourself. Very simple. There isn't much to explain. The defendant, Mr. Peter Sykes, may not be innocent. What are you talking about? The case from 7 years ago has been settled. I'm not talking about the past here. I'm talking about the present case. It's still not clear who killed Clay Terran. But, Apollo, why would you? Miss Sykes, please listen quietly to what I have to say. What is Apollo trying to do? Your Honor, please allow me a little of the court's time. But this is a trial for the case from 7 years ago. Miss Blackwell, I'd like to ask a favor of you. Just as you lost someone close to you, I lost someone close to me too. So you want to know the real truth of what happened as much as I do. Apollo. Sir, you know I'm all for the truth. Now let's see you expose the princess's guilt. Judge, I give my permission. Continue with the trial. Very well. Is that alright with you, Prosecutor Edgeworth? Prosecution has no objections. Let's hear Mr. Justice's testimony. I'll have the police investigation report brought immediately. You too, Edgeworth. I really hope it's not. You can get something with your sleeve. Very well. The opening statement, please, Prosecutor Edgeworth. As you wish. Let's review the case of the murder of Mr. Clay Terran. It is made clear in the previous trial that Solomon Starbuck was not his killer. Therefore, the true culprit was someone else. On that day, the culprit waited for the astronauts in boarding lounge 1. When the two men made their escape out of the Space Museum, the killer attacked Mr. Chan with the same type of knife that was used 7 years ago. The murderer then escaped into the Space Museum. Next, Director Yuri Cosmos switched the launch pads. And then the culprit exited the Space Museum and escaped the boarding lounge too. Therefore, this trial must make clear who Mr. Terran's true killer was. In other words, we must discover who it was that escaped through the Space Museum that day. Thank you, Prosecutor Edgeworth. That's right. Is the defense ready? Yes, Your Honor. Better rearrange my evidence. Now then, Mr. Justice, your testimony, if you please. I suspected Miss Sykes of the murder of Clay Terran. My growing suspicions were confirmed when disproving evidence presented itself. In addition, he's the only one who could have utilized the launchpad switch to escape. That is why I was to indict Miss Sykes on the charge of murder. Order! Order in the court! Mr. Justice, you realize you are charging your own co-worker with murder, don't you? Yes, Your Honor, because that is the conclusion my investigation has led me to. But, Apollo, why? How could you suspect me too? Mr. White, your cross-examination, please. I don't get it. Just what did you find out over the past few days to make you think this? suspected Miss Sykes of the murder of Clay Tarrant.
Hold it!
What force made you suspicious of Miss Sykes? It all started with Miss Sykes and I were investigating the crime scene. When she saw the weapon that killed Mr. Tarrant, my bracelet reacted. She said she never seen the knife before, but my bracelet told me otherwise. And then, every time after that, my bracelet would react when she talked about the case. All of us put the stripes after that investigation. I didn't know what to do or think. I couldn't even sleep. In that condition, I knew I wouldn't be any good in court. So I just set you on iPad so I wouldn't be able to perceive any of her tales. That's why Apollo was acting so strangely. The reason Miss Sykes unconsciously reacted to the knife that way is because she stabbed her mother's photo with one identical to it 7 years ago.
Objection!
But that knife was also the motor weapon that was used to kill Clay Tarrant. My bracelet could have also reacted to her because she knew she was his killer too. Guess he has a point. But my bracelet wasn't the only reason I became suspicious of her. My growing suspicions were confirmed when this incriminating evidence presented itself.
Hold it!
It's the letter that was found in the Space Museum with fingerprints on it, right? Even if it seems decisive, there must be other facts we don't know about it yet. And so, go ahead and prove it then. Look, honestly, I don't want to believe it's true either. But Miss Sykes was the only one who was in the Space Museum at the time of the murder. Mr. Justice, Miss Sykes had absolutely no motive to kill Mr. Tarrant.
Objection!
7 years ago, Miss Sykes lived at the Cosmos Space Center. It wouldn't be strange if she had some kind of connection to him. Besides, people sometimes kill for motives we can't even imagine. I know you've seen plenty of cases like that in your own career, Mr. White. I can't believe this. You actually suspect Athena, Apollo? Since he's the only one who could have utilized the launchpad strips to escape.
Hold it!
Is it possible that somebody else used that same escape route? I'm afraid not, Mr. White. Why not? Because there's kitty cameras boarding the lounge one aimed at the launchpad door. It's a camera that captured Mr. Tarrant and Mr. Starbuck. There's also another security camera in boarding lounge too. We'll call it Mr. Tarrant's killer, or rather, Miss Sykes coming out of the Space Museum. Camera in boarding lounge too. It's a part of it, but it makes sense. He said she had snuck into the Space Museum the night before the incident. And then was overcome and passed out until noon the next day. I was out until about noon of the next day. I didn't even know about the explosions. When I woke up, nobody was around, so I just went out into boarding lounge too. That must have been what the camera captured, huh? Just to put Apollo suspected even more. Wait a minute. In that case, it must likely record the true culprit as well.
Objection!
That's a negative on that one too, Mr. White. The footage taken after the incident. Miss Sykes is the only one who appears. What? Why? Order in the court! Me. But if it is, then it is incredibly intimidating. Was it you who proved in the previous trial that the way the true culprit escaped was via the Space Museum after the pads had been switched? In fact, you piece of food turned out mid-tier, leaving your client high and dry. I must say, It is vintage Phoenix White. That is why I wish to indict Miss Sykes on the charge of murder.
Hold it!
Believing in your client to the end is a basic principle of good defense. Shouldn't you extend that same principle to your own co-worker? Probably right. Maybe I'm not even fit to be a lawyer. However, I don't care. This case is special to me. Clay was my friend. And that's why I just have to know the truth. His doubts and investigate on his own that only led to more doubts. Paula must have been really struggling with this. Well, Paula may have doubts, but I'll say it again. Miss Sykes isn't the murderer. And I have only one thing to say. Evidence is everything in court. Mr. White, do you have the concrete proof to knock down my arguments? Your arguments have been very clear, Mr. Justice, and your facts appear to be indisputable. Well, Mr. White, what do you think of my theory? It looks like not even you can deny it. Miss Sykes was the only one who used the only possible escape route. Under these circumstances, there can be no other suspect but the defendant. Unless you think there was an alternative escape route. Is that what you think, Mr. White? Is that what you think, Mr. White? Is that what you think, Phoenix? Was there an alternative escape route? Yes, of course there must have been. Just don't ask me what. You're just bluffing again, aren't you? Me? Bluff? No way. He knows me too well. It's fine, Mr. White. Even a bluff would suit me just fine. As long as you can clear up this doubt inside me. Wait, so is that what this is all about? I want to believe in Athena. I really do. What is faith without doubt? That's why I need to question her guilt. So that once the truth finally comes out, I can really trust her. So that you can really trust me. It seems your junior partner has just showed us what trials are truly all about. I believe you're right. We prosecutors painstakingly question every detail in pursuit of the defendant. We lawyers believe in and defend our clients to the end. Both sides go all out against each other. That's when we discover the truth. Precisely. And when the battle is over, we will understand the true meaning of trust. That's exactly what trials are about. Wouldn't you agree? Yes. I couldn't ignore the seed of doubt that was growing inside me. So I decided I need to face it head on. No matter what the truth is that's going ahead, I won't be afraid. So like Apollo, always uber honest about things like this. Mr. Justice, I'm about to dispel every last bit of doubt in your heart. Good, because I want to believe in Miss Sykes again. I'm really hoping there was an alternative route, aren't you, Apollo? Use the process of elimination, there really aren't that many possibilities. Dr. was at the southern exit. We were in the control room in accordance to the Space Museum. But still, could the culprit have escaped to? Come on, Mr. White. Where do you think the culprit escaped to?
Take that!
They really only could have escaped through the corridor to the Space Museum. All they had to do was use the unconscious Mr. Starbucks points to get through the door.
Objection!
It appears that all you're trying to establish is Miss Sykes' guilt. If the culprit used that route, the only exit would have been into boarding lounge 2. The logical conclusion of your argument is that the killer is none other than the defendant. You know what? That's the only way it could be, huh? The culprit escaped into the corridor that leads to the Space Museum. I guess it's true. The only exit would have been the boarding lounge 2. Miss Sykes was the only person captured by the boarding lounge 2 security camera. Investigate the crime scene thoroughly. But the only place the culprit could have escaped into was the Space Museum corridor. There aren't any other secret corridors or anything. So that leaves us with no other conclusion to draw but that Athena Sykes was the culprit. What could the answer be? There's really no other escape route. But, one second. What if... Where does mysterious leads you saw in the corridor come from? If there are clues to the culprit's real escape route. I think it is possible that the culprit escaped into the Space Museum, but then came out using a route other than into boarding lounge 2. How? Launchpad 1 and the Space Museum was switched after the bombing, meaning the Space Museum corridor was moving along the way at the time. That's exactly when an alternate escape route opened up for our culprit. Are you kidding me? Judging by the intense look in your eyes, I take it you're serious. Very well then, Mr. White. Do tell. Where could the culprit have gone from the museum corridor besides boarding lounge 2?
Take that!
We found something odd while investigating the museum corridor this afternoon. Namely, a few dead leaves on the floor. Considering where dead leaves come from, they point us to exactly where the culprit escaped to. Yes, I remember seeing some leaves myself. Do you mean? Yep, while the Space Museum was in motion, just beyond the corridor's safety door, was an alternative place that the culprit could use to escape. In other words, the culprit's real escape route was the area outside the Space Center. Freaking insane!
Objection!
Do you know how impossible that would be? The corridor is level with the 3rd floor. Even if the culprit tried to leap out to the outside wall of the Space Center building, they would fall to their death.
Objection!
Ordinarily, yes. But after the bombing incident, the culprit could make use of a certain item. And what item is that exactly, Mr. White? Alright, this is what the culprit used to leap to the outside wall of the main building.
Take that!
There was an emergency ladder in the 4th floor robotics lab. It was used that day after the explosion to help evacuate people. Miss Becker herself used that ladder to escape down to ground level. Recorded that the launch pads were switched after the ladder was lowered. The recorder would have passed by the ladder while the pads were being switched. And that's when the culprit literally sprang into action. And leapt onto that ladder. What? Who would have imagined? Order in the court. Well, an alternate escape route seems to have emerged. Which means someone other than Miss Six could have been the culprit, right?
Objection!
Making things up on the fly in an attempt to sway the court again, are we, Mr. White? Your theory has so many holes, it puts Swiss cheese to shame. Alright, then, name one. I have here detailed information about the Space Center. According to this is the museum quarter on the main building. Movement is a full 20 feet. 20 feet? You're pulling my leg, right? In addition, the corridor is 3 floors from the ground, or roughly 50 feet. What's more, the culprit would be leaping to a precarious place. An unstable ladder. Human beings feel in dangerous situations. It's a basic survival instinct. The ordinary person would certainly hesitate before jumping. Or even freeze in fear and not jump at all.
Objection!
The culprit had just been murdered someone. They weren't in an ordinary state of mind.
Objection!
Nevertheless, why would they have taken the kind of risk? They would have waited for the switch to be complete and escaped to boarding lounge 2.
Objection!
Because there was a security camera in boarding lounge 2. The culprit knew they would be recorded if they left the Space Museum that way.
Objection!
The culprit could have hidden in the museum until things settled down, and then blended in with the other people after the museum was opened. That's a good point. Saying that despite all this, the culprit took a 20-foot death-defying leap. A brief moment, the corridor and Pilato passed by each other. That's also a good point. They would have needed a running start while the corridor was moving to make that jump. If their timing was off, or if they couldn't jump far enough, it would have been instant death. What kind of person would attempt something like that? Stop bringing up good points, Edgeworth. This true culprit of yours is nothing but a figment of your imagination. Why do you always have to point out every flaw? This sounds pretty insane. Culprit would have to be someone who feels no fear, like a stuntman. But everyone feels fear on some level, right? Wait a minute. Huh. I got it this time. I can prove that there was someone who could have used this alternative escape route. Oh, can you now? This proves the possibility of a person who could have used this alternative escape route.
Take that!
What's that, Mr. White? This is a certain person's very interesting psych profile. The subject doesn't experience feelings like normal people do. In other words, this person doesn't feel happiness, sadness, or fear. Doesn't feel fear. Right! You can't be serious! Without the constraint of fear. Could easily do what an ordinary person wouldn't dare. Just as you or I could do a broad jump on the ground without the slightest fear. This subject could make a 20-foot leap, 50 feet up in the air. He could choose this extreme way of escaping without hesitation. So, you're saying that to a person without fear, the alternative route would be quicker and eliminate the chance that they'll be spotted. That's something pretty extreme, Mr. White. Was there such a person there at the scene? Yes, the Phantom, the mysterious shadowy figure who keeps popping up. Oh dear! The Phantom? Again? I knew the Phantom was there behind the scenes of the spaceship bombing, but I wasn't sure if he was connected to the mortal Playterran as well. However, now it's all clear. The Phantom is the one who not only bombed the space center, but also killed Mr. Terran. What? Order in the court. Order, I say. Mr. White, please continue. There were just too many similarities between this case and the one from 7 years ago. But why, you may ask? Maybe because both instances were the work of the same Phantom. So then, this Phantom is the one who killed Clay. But who is he? This Phantom has been haunting this case. One of the strings in the background. Right. This escape route must have been a part of the Phantom's plan from the start. As was tricking Detective Cosmos into switching the launch pads. The bomb on the second floor was meant to make the elevators and stairs unusable. That's why he gave advance warnings and planted the bombs where he did. Yes, I think you're right. But it doesn't explain just one last thing. So I lowered my emergency ladder like the detective leading the evacuation told me to. It was such a pain. Why couldn't they have used the ladders in the other rooms? The works, that wasn't the only room with an emergency ladder. You couldn't have made that leap unless you were certain which one it would be. So you mean the Phantom must be someone who knew that particular ladder was going to be used. Right. Who could it be? Wait a minute. So I lowered my emergency ladder like the detective leading the evacuation told me to. Miss Blackwell lowered the ladder after being told to by the detective leading the... You gotta be kidding me. Did you figure it out right? Do you know who the Phantom is? Yes, I do. Who is it? Who killed Clay? A mysterious spy known as the Phantom is none other than... explosions. A member of the staff crossed paths with a certain detective. I was on duty on the 4th floor. It was quite the madhouse, I tell you. As for the detective who was leading the evacuation from the 4th floor, he had a very specific objective in mind. So I lowered my emergency ladder like the detective leading the evacuation told me to. His objective was to secure his own escape route. We lowered an emergency ladder from a 4th floor window and escaped that way. Once everyone else got out safely, I made my way down to and headed to the shelter. This is the detective you are now. He's even the lead detective on the current case. He appears to be a very emotional man, but his psych professor says he is without emotion.
Take that!
What are you saying? You mean the victim is Detective Bobby Fulbright? Exactly. You are taken in by his fake personnel. Detective Fulbright's right then is the Phantom. Order in the court. Mr. White, how could this be? That's easy, Your Honor. Detective Fulbright was leading the 4th floor evacuation effort. Our first clue is that he made no attempt to have any other ladder put to use. The ladder in the robotic assembly is the only one he ordered to be lowered. The second is that he directed everybody to the basement setup via this ladder. All part of his plan to create an escape route. After Detective Fulbright saw it into that ladder was lowered from the robotics lab. He went to the lounge where he killed Clay Taylor and escaped into the Space Museum. The museum started moving slowly, so he waited for the right time, got a warning start, and just as the corridor was passing the ladder, he leaped onto it. I don't believe it. That detective did all that. Is it really him? I mean, all this time, I thought... Sorry, we didn't catch your name. My name, I'm Bobby Fulbright, the heroic detective who defends our good citizens from evil. The champion of justice who comes running whenever you're in need. And my catchphrase, it's injustice we trust. Dad, his concern for Simon was also all just one big act? I swore to inform Prosecutor Blackwell and make him a valued member of society again. So I just can't sit by and watch him give in to his emotions and tear the defendant apart. That monster killed Clay. He had me completely fooled. Come to think of it, he's the only one who brought that blood-stained ladder to court too. Scumbag even made me turn on Athena. Damn it! How the hell did I fall for all that? And Chad Warm is going to the police department as well. Your Honor, the defense demands requesting Detective Bobby Fulbright. Yes, I agree that we need to hear from him right away. The court will take a short recess, and then Detective Fulbright will take the stand.